If we set up a new education system based on the tradition, so how can it go along with the fact that we are all in the 21st century, which is a modern era? To repeat the questions, if we have a tradition-based curriculum as our education policy, but then how much will it be a benefit to us as we are in a modern era? I have explained the meaning of tradition, and while explaining the meaning of tradition, I have counted few qualities. It is also written in this book. There are three qualities, and also the qualities which are not changeable due to the circumstances, but it has to be permanent and steady. When we speak about the tradition, which in Tibetan work is Sul Yun, which has a connotation of continuity. So here, when we speak about the tradition as a continuity, a permanent continuity, here we are speaking about the fact that it cannot change, or if it is benefit at one point, and if not benefit at another point, then the continuity doesn't exist. And another is to have a divine source and uninterrupted continuity based on valid reason. So these are the three qualities. And all these qualities and the tradition has to be nature as a permanent, whatever the circumstances or the environment may be. So if something which has these qualities together is considered as a tradition. In 21st century, maybe we can say it's a 21st century. The thing which is most a study which is most beneficial to the individual and the whole society, then that kind of education system will be a complete tradition. When we speak about profound or a complete system, we mean some tradition which is backed by valid reason and which is beneficial to all the different traditions and different people. And if that tradition tend to change depending upon certain time or certain environment, then we may not be able to consider it as authentic. Therefore, in 21st century, something that benefits individual and also to other, something which benefits both self and other, a kind of education system. If we are in pursuit of such an education system, then the tradition education is the most suitable one. That is something that I can confirm and ascertain. However, as I have stated before, When I explain about a tradition based education system, I'm not saying that the subject or the curriculum need not be something that included in tradition. A complete new education system or a complete new topic or subject, however, due to the environment or due to the students and the teachers' combination and the way to impart that teaching, even though the modern subject can be also considered as a traditional education. So when we speak about traditional education, it doesn't exist from the education itself. Rather, it is more from the perspective of the how to impart the education. Many people have this connotation that we are in a new era, a developed era. So when we speak that the time has a new time has come, maybe there are few practice that are outdated and that cannot be practiced now. Something that is expired or outdated need not be practiced at this moment. And I present this morning that tradition-based education is something that can never be outdated, and you do not need to have any doubt about that. If I present it in a very coarse or rough way, in this world, if you can have a glance about those societies, the societies and people who are based or who have tradition education, they have very good living. Those people who claim to have great modern education still are facing a lot of problem with their living. So if someone or a society has authentic or complete tradition education, then wherever he go from west to east, he is respected and revered, and there is not a single example that is not being that singled out. So therefore, if you have a wrong notion that tradition education is overt, then if you have a glance or look at how popular or successful are the people who are practicing the tradition education and how they are success in this world. So this is the answer to this question. And there was another question that was asked before, and maybe I didn't understand completely. And he has presented a different question, and I have answered it in the wrong way. I'm sorry for that. So anyone who, when you ask questions, you must place your mic in a very good distance. If you place it too near to your mouth, then the echo comes, and I cannot grab your words. And also, I'm an old man now, and my senses are not very clear, so I have to listen very carefully. And question about his question was about he claimed that he has done many research and research about the mind, and he found that mind has a power or potential, and it is something which is goes similar to scientific research and something which doesn't have any disagreement with any scientist, since the mind itself can be considered as authority or a power. So this is he claimed that what he have found as research. So and I'm saying that whatever you have found is exact and true. So whether it is fact or not, if you continue to research, it is very good. And if you print and publish your research and your findings, it will be very helpful. When you explain about liturgy or the potential of mind in Tibetan, there are many ways of explaining it. It can have different connotations. Similarly, urja, the term in Sanskrit, it can also refer to different things. It can mean clarity or cognition. Maybe I can say that it's a nature, conventional nature of mind, which is a clarity. And I do not know whether the clarity or the luminous nature of the mind is actually same as what scientists explain. I think it may take many years to confirm those findings. But if I present and brief about these findings in Tantra, Vajrayana, we speak about the subtle Vayu, the motion, and we speak the mind and the wind as one union. So this topic is not even touched in the sutra. This is something which comes only in the Vajrayana Buddhism. Due to our capacity to control the Vayu or the wind, the channel which flows in our channels, so we will be able to control our emotions. So if you analyze further, so most of the time the term Vayu in Sanskrit is translated as wind in Tibetan. Maybe I feel that it should be rather translated as life or living prana. The prana or Vayu can be rather translated as some of consciousness or rather than wind. Then when we speak about the living, it is also explained in the sutra also that the living is the life within us is also a base for the heat of our body, is a base for the heat and the consciousness of our mind, which means that it is the basis for the persons. So therefore, this explanation is not very clear in the Abhidhamma text. If we are able to further our investigations and research with scientists about this life or the Vayu or the Prana, as it is explained in the Vajrayana as Vayu or wind, then how it sustain the consciousness, how it's not different from consciousness, that how all these two go together, and how in Vajrayana one can even claim that there is form and even in the formless realms. If we continue our research in this way, so even though we may not be able to find the mind, the consciousness itself as authority or the potential, but then we will be able to find the living or the life which is very similar to mind. Therefore, if we reach that point, it will be easy to prove the rebirth to the Western scientists. My question is about many scholars like Krishnamurti that we should not stay within the corners of the four doors, and then we should go out and explore more. I wanted to know about this notion, which they explains that if one stays inside the four corners of the world, as J. Krishnamurti has explained that if you live within the corner of a house and study, then you won't be able to gain the real knowledge. But if you go out and within the nature's environment. And if you investigate the nature of the wind flowing, the rain, mountain, forest, and so on, if you investigate further to these natural phenomenon, then of course they are the great source of the knowledge. So they have this notion. So I wanted to know what what you what do you think about this notion? So therefore, the study of the nature, how should we categorize it to the tradition studies or the modern studies? What book have you read of Krishnamurti? Have you heard it from someone or did you read it in one of the books of Krishnamurti? I think he heard from someone. He didn't remember the name of the book. He forgot the name of the book. The new institution set up by Krishnamurti, they have a different basic education system. It is quite different from the education system or the syllabus that is in the other government schools. In his classes, within one classroom, there are three different classes assembled together. And the teacher actually they do not have anything to teach. They just engage with the students, and most of the time they go out, visit parks, gardens, and so on, to the waterfalls, bring the students there and to see the wildlife and also the insects, butterflies, and so on, and to see these insects and natural things and to do research and also about how new saplings grow, how the seed progressed to saplings, how they grow from each month and each day's progression from the seed to sapling. Similarly, Mahatma Gandhi, in one of his teachings, he has stated that the basis of all the education or the imparting of any type of education should be something related to skill, something which is related to arts, whether it is spinning yard or carpentry or anything. It has something, should be something related to the arts and craftsmanship. For example, if you are growing a field, growing vegetables and so on, then the nature of the soil and also the fertilizations, the fertility of the soil, also investigating about the nature of the seeds and how to preserve the seeds and so on. And he also, along with his studies, he teaches a lot about science, which actually mainly for the chemicals and the chemistry and so on. Even for the spinning yard, how does the wool comes from, how one should make the wool thread, and how it comes from, and how what kind of drawings, prescription should we based on. So in these studies, a lot of studies such as social science are involved. But these are all methods and the means of education, and it is not possible to uh, condense all the teachings, all the studies within that. Similarly, when we teach the pure science, uh, the philosophy has to be taught. And your question was about Krishnamurti's concept that we need to study along with the natural resources and whether this kind of studies should be tradition or modern. And I think that that is completely tradition based. In the modern studies, it always brings us further away from the natural environment. There is not a single possibility that in the modern thinking, the natural resources is something that humans can produce, as humans can govern or humans can independently prepared or control the natural. For example, if the weather is hot, we can on the air condition and cool it, and also using heater to warm in the cold places, and also bringing electricity to different places, and where there are no wind, building windmills, and so on. So they feel that humans can control the nature, and one of the greatest mistakes of the modern scientists and the maternities is that they will be able to govern and control the nature. So therefore, with this mind that they can control the nature, they are in direct contrast with the environment, and it results in a great degradation of the environment. And when the environment and the nature revolt against the humans, even the greatest of the greatest scientists cannot do anything. When natural calamities arrives, it seems very sure that there is no way that we can control the nature. We've seen in 1 month before there was a major strong quake in Nepal, and there was a thunderstorm and flood in America at that time. What are the scientists can do? Nothing. Everybody dies. So therefore, it is not possible to go against the environment or nature, and to the notion to live with the nature and to go along with the nature is the best solution. Even if you think about the construct of our human body consists of four elements or the five elements. And when all these elements are in good order, we say that we are feeling very healthy. When those elements are not in order, then we get ill. So maybe due to some medicines, there may be a possibility to control the elements within our body. Also, due to different medications such as surgery and so on, can cure the natural elements within our body. This is possibility, but it is impossible to control the natural elements and environment as per our wish. Maybe if one becomes luck, then there is a possibility of success, but otherwise it's very difficult. And the best way is not to indulge in the nature of the flow of the nature and let the nature and the environment flow and go by itself without humans obstacles. The tradition education systems or the concept believes that some kind of the land when they are blind faith, we consider some lake or places as the pilgrimage or sacred place. But if there are no such blind faith, then we consider this as the source of all the uh, happiness. And in India, there is a tradition of considering the earth as one's mother. Even in America, also, they really respect and consider the nature and environment very precious. So this is something that I'm going away from the main topic. And in your youngsters, there are many of you who knows English very well and who search and browse on the internet very often. There are many websites that if you browse and which will be very informative. There is one website in Seattle in Washington. Uh, there was uh, there was a letter called Chief Seattle letter that we can find in internet, and also this is kept as a study in our tradition, and also it is being taught to students in many institutions. In this letter, the governor have written a long reply that replied to the purchase of land, and there was one word that comes very often. Since I am a citizen, I'm undeveloped person, so I do not understand you. So this is a phrase that comes very often. You ask me to sell my land, and who gives me the power to sell the land, and who gives you the power to buy this land? And to if you tell me to sell my mother to you, do I have the power or the power to sell my mother, or do I have the rights to sell my mother? What do you think about this? So I do not understand your questions. And I always find this phrase very poetic whenever I go to Western countries, and I used to tell my friends that I am savage and I do not understand. And what are you saying? I do not understand because I am a savage. The mind of the modern people, they feel that the land and also the water and the forest and all as a possession, is something that they can purchase and sell. Even in India, most of these great rivers are already sold and converted into dams and so on. When we speak about purchase and business deals, the people only have for the nature and environment just as a normal material that we purchase in the market. Therefore, any kind of study which is based on the environment is purely traditional. So today we conclude the first day's program. Tomorrow I am requesting all students to assemble at 8:45, and all the guests please go upstairs for dinner.